Companies all over the country are running away from woke like it's the plague. You'd think that Disney would be doing the same, but think again, folks. It seems like the people in charge of changes over at Walt Disney World Resort and Disneyland Resort, well, they still don't have a clue, and they're playing Clue over at Haunted Mansion. We'll tell you how they're downgrading yet another fan favorite. Stick tight, folks. We'll dive in with the 999 Ghoulish Ghouls. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Pro Channel, where we, as ever, endeavor to explain entertainment. Keeping you ahead of the culture curve, it is what we do, and we enjoy what we do. A fervor, a fever, and there is no medication to stop it, folks. Sorry, Disney, you cannot NyQuil us away. Vash Sky is returning, and Vash, how are you today, sir?
I am doing just fine. Thank you so much for having me, Pro. This is a topic that I'm very, very passionate about, so I'm thrilled that you've had me come on and talk about it.
It's always fun to have you on, Vash. We're happy you're back again. And we're talking about a classic attraction that many, many people love. It's in the top 5, top 10. No matter who you ask, everybody knows what the Haunted Mansion is, and let's see what they're changing yet again for the sake of changing. Folks, as we talk about this, we only ask that you click the like button, and we would remind you that as we're talking about this attraction, this is a far bigger story. It has more to do with the cultural shift and change that we're watching all over the country. We'll explain in just a moment. Out of that Park Place, the website that if you're not yet bookmarked, well, you should be. Haunted Mansion Ghost Bride returns to original roots in Disneyland, reversing decades of Tom Fitzgerald changes. Now, Vash, this article goes on to talk about how this one character in the Haunted Mansion has been switched back to the original only in Disneyland, not in Walt Disney World.
Yes.
The interesting thing, though, is the reason they're doing it is not what you might hope for. So let's read the article a little bit. I'll get your take on the changes, and then we'll get into the motivation. What motivates these crazy people at Disney? And they've not received the memo yet. I don't think they're going to receive the memo. And whereas other companies are saying, you know what, we're going to comply now with the will of the people, Disney seems to be still focused only on the will of whoever is in charge at the House of Mouse. It says Disneyland's Haunted Mansion has reopened after an extensive refurbishment, and one of its most notable updates is a complete reimagining of the attic Ghost Bride scene. You can see that there. Now, we'll take a look at this, folks. No audio, but you can see what the new little Ghost Bride is. And, this would not typically warrant a full-blown video, except for they might have more changes planned for the Haunted Mansion, and the motivation for why they're making the changes gives you some vision into what's happening at Disney. This change reverses the controversial revamp led by Imagineer Tom Fitzgerald in the mid-2000s, which transformed the bride into a Black Widow figure who eliminated multiple husbands for their wealth. The new version returns the bride to her original concept as a heartbroken spirit searching for her lost love, a move that many fans see as a course correction. So we're back to the Corpse Bride style story here, Vash. What are your thoughts on it? And before we get into the motivation from Disney, do you support this change, sort of separating that out?
I do. Separating it out, I actually do support this change. I think it was a very tasteful change. I never really liked Constance Hatchaway and her inclusion in the Haunted Mansion. Not to say that I don't want a bright figure to be there, but her popping in with audio every 8 seconds and a projection effect that really didn't hold up and wasn't really that great at the time. I think this is definitely a return to form for this attraction. In that video right there, you can see that she's in a kind of a ghostly apparition type form right there, and it's very, I think, evocative. And as Kim Irvine, who led this particular project here at Disneyland, said, it kind of goes back to maybe like a lost love story. And I think that's appropriate, and I actually do like the change. But it's the reasoning, Pro. It's the reasoning that I don't quite enjoy.
And the reasoning is what's causing over and over again Disney attractions to be changed in ways that, well, Vash, we just got to say, the Disney World of today and the Disneyland even of today, I think, are not superior to what they were a decade ago. I would say that you had a much better experience at the parks. And I don't know when the Apex was. I don't know if it was, 2008 or 2005. I don't know when was the best time to go to a Disney park. but it's not today. And so these people are spending billions and billions of dollars to make these changes, and the changes actually they debase and diminish the brand overall. And the experience that people have, what guests get to do, is less today than it used to be. We'll talk about that in just a moment. Let's get to the quote that really relays what the problem is at Disney. It says, Disney purists may see this as a big win, but the opinions of those who hold Disney's storied past in high regard apparently had nothing to do with this decision. According to Kim Irvine, who you mentioned earlier, Vash, the creative director of Walt Disney Imagineering, the decision to move away from Fitzgerald's version of The Bride was deliberate. But rather than chalking it up to a return to form for a classic attraction that respects the original vision of legends like Raleigh Crump, Yale Gracie, and Xavier Atencio, Irvine opined on sensitivity and the modern day audience. The bride that used to be in there was an axe murderer. And in this day and age, we have to be really careful about the sensitivities of people, Irvine said to the LA Times. We were celebrating someone chopping off her husband's heads, and it was a weird story. I know the fans. Some will like it, and some will say, oh, you changed something again. And here's where the problem comes in. That's our job. That's what we're here for. Vash, the problem is they seem to believe that their job is to change things for the sake of changing things.
Right.
That is not what they should be doing. Every decision that Disney Imagineering, along with those in charge of the parks, every decision that gets made should be in an effort to make the parks better. And
Plussing.
Yes, plussing, exactly. That goes back to what Walt talked about. Now, if they have been, for the past 5, 6, 7, 8 years, just changing for the sake of changing, or even worse, changing for the modern message, well, that's how we arrive at a time and a place now where Disney World is not, it's not as good as it was. And neither is Disneyland, despite massive amounts of investment. So this is the problem. And Vash, it doesn't stop here. If we scroll down, we find out that, here they go again. Because down in the lower part, it says, we're still looking at that, Irvine said, of the hanging man scene. The opening scene, by the way, of the Haunted Mansion, the stretching room. Right. She says that one is complicated structurally, one thing at a time. Which indicates to me that, yes, they do plan to change that. And this is a nonstop sanitization of attractions for the modern message that never ends because they don't want to build new things. They want to, quote unquote, fix old things. And when they want to fix them, what they really mean is they want to reimagine them according to their ultra crazy left coast wackadoodle lefty views. Like, I'm sorry, but it's the Haunted Mansion. We're going into a world where you're dealing with ghosts. How do people become ghosts? They die. This is crazy to me that we're now going to have to take out, the hanging man and modify the stretch room and all of that because now we can't handle this sort of thing. This didn't offend people for decades and decades. And these ninnies are coming in here and anything and everything they can be insulted by or offended by, they got to find it because they're out of a job if they don't. Vash, what do you think?
Oh, no, I think you're exactly right. That's the thing. That's the dangerous thing about faulty reasoning, right? Even though faulty reasoning may have benefited this attraction in this particular case, being the bride, when you look at this faulty reasoning and how it plays out, this is where you get to the hanging man scene. Now, I get it. I understand this whole that scene might be triggering for people who have trauma related to self-delusion. I got that. I understand that. I'm fully acknowledging that.
Yeah,
but the problem is that you're
death. The whole ride's about death, Vash.
I was just about to say that. You're entering a ride about death, okay? So maybe perhaps this attraction isn't for you. Because who knows what other things might trigger that response. And, I think it's on the person to understand that and be well aware of that before they actually embark on something like this. it's how we lose the auction scene in Pirates of the Caribbean, for example. It's how we lose the humor and the edginess of Country Bear Jamboree. It's how we lose Splash Mountain in favor of Tiana's Mighty Adventure. This faulty reasoning where we have to be very particular about the modern sensibilities of people is what waters down the parks. It's what makes them mediocre. At best, it's very, very bad reasoning, and I really do hope that they don't go and follow that path, because the Hanging Man scene, it really does. It's a tone setter for the entire attraction, right? It explores who the ghost host is. It really, I think, it's definitely the culmination of the tension that you were experiencing from that point, like the climax of that tension right there. There are so many story points and beats that come from that particular scene, and to remove it, I think, is doing an injustice to the entire attraction. And it's really sad. I don't know if you know this, bro, but a couple of years ago, I believe in 2023, the Phantom Manor removed all nooses from that attraction, and it just follows this line of, wow, can't we reference anything without somebody getting offended?
Well, and the answer to that is no. And that means that these people will never stop. And by the way, this is how you have situations where we can no longer play. Like, you can go, folks. You can try this. Tell them Pro sent you. They love us there. You can go to any musician at any of the Disney parks and ask them to play Zippity Doo-Dah. They can't. They're not allowed to. They'll have ways of telling you that they can't do that. They might tell you that they don't remember how to play it, or they never learned it, but they can't play it. That's the bottom line. Now, how do you get to a situation where Zippity Doo-Dah is now considered so offensive that they cannot play what was considered a classic Disney song, and at the same time, you go back to video from the 80s, and there's Ray Charles playing Zippity Doo-Dah and having a darn good time. By the way, it's the best rendition ever done of Zippity Doo-Dah by Ray Charles. I highly recommend you go find it. But how is it that Ray Charles was not offended by Zippity Doo-Dah, but a bunch of white ladies at the Imagineering complex have decided that you can't listen to it in Disney parks anymore? 5 years ago, it was the happiest song that led you into the castle parks, and now, by golly, it's a hate anthem. These people are crazy. They're absolutely crazy. And, let's just cover the parks with foam. Let's nerf it up, baby. Bubble wrap everything. No more pain. No more, like, you can't have any reference to anything. We're going to have to put a glass dome over the parks, though, because, Vash, I don't know if you heard this before. There was a time when a hawk came flying down and grabbed a baby duck in Magic Kingdom, and families were very, it caused children to be distraught because, the baby duck was carried off by the bird of prey. So that can't happen either. We got to dome this thing off, and everything will be totally plastic. Like, this is so divorced from reality, and all the other companies have figured this out. All the other companies have realized this narrative has collapsed. Yes. Disney does not seem to have gotten that message yet. Vash, I'll give you a final word.
Well, look at Tiana's Mighty Adventure, for example. Even the attraction that replaced Splash Mountain for reasons, we're gonna go ahead and cater to the sensitivities of others. Even within an attraction, they couldn't reference voodoo because that could offend somebody else. So now you have a ride lacking and devoid of all tension, thrill, and excitement completely. It's just a very mid kind of attraction and experience, and it really just speaks to really the lack of creativity from Imagineering. I mean, if you read that larger, and I would implore everybody to go to that park place, read the entire article, but also too, it references this LA Times article in which Kim Irvine talks about the carriage house and how apparently that was a 10-year project, which is mind-blowing for how lackluster it became. And she talks about the AI artwork featured in there and how it was a placeholder, and she was distraught that, a lot of people didn't take in the other details and they just harped on this one particular detail. It just kind of goes to show you that details for them, they feel that they shouldn't matter in this way. Go ahead, bro.
The carriage house is worse than a fast food joint that you can find at any off-ramp to an interstate. Yes. What are they talking about? Get these talentless hacks out of the Disney Imagineering. This is crazy. They can't even install lights in the ground anymore. Epic Universe, Universal Studios took all of the talent, and we're left with this. And you know what? If this is all we've got, pause. Just stop. Don't build anything until you have geniuses again, because these people clearly can't do it. Now, it's such a weird juxtaposition. I like the new bride, but the reason that they did it, it's like a blind hog will find a nut on the ground every once in a while. A blind squirrel will find an acorn. You've heard whatever the saying is. That's what I feel like this has happened here. And man, oh man. So anyway, Disney not in a great place, but every once in a while they hit one. I'll tell you this though, Vash. When it comes to things they need to win, I really hope that they don't screw up Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. Like, please, please, just like I'm seeing all the track removed, and that's great. We want new track in. And so that's an engineering issue. We hope the track's great. Please don't screw up anything. Don't go in there and change it for modern sensibilities. We don't need multi-gendered goats in the ghost towns. Like, we don't. Just stop, okay? Just do a normal thing. Replace the track. Make the lift hill quiet. Turn the water effects back on. Give us some smoke and stop. No more modern changes. Get the message, Disney. All right. Vash, we got to head out today, but folks, we hope you had a good time, and apologies on being a little bit more ranty than usual, but we got to because Disney needs to be called out. And listen, this idea that we're changing things for the sake of changing things, no, there's 100 things that you can make better. Do that. That would be a good thing. Folks, you can help this video go out there even better. Click the like button, share, subscribe, click it and stick it to the algorithms. It is the notification bell. Drop a comment down below. And by the magic of the internet, at the time that you may be watching this, Vash could also be doing a live stream. Vash, tell the people out there what happens on Sundays over on That Pod Place.
On Sundays at 2 p.m. over at That Pod Place, we host Hollywood Backlot with Lou and you, where we take your questions and go over Hollywood history, the Golden Age, legends of yore, stars on Hollywood. We cover the gambit there, so please check us out with Lou, Washerman's Ghost. He is always up for taking your questions and, going on about his experiences in Tinseltown.
That's right, and he's got major experiences in Tinseltown. Folks, wherever you are, we hope that you are staying safe, whether you're heading to the inauguration or whether you are dealing with those fires still in California. We're thinking about everybody out there who's traveling. For those of you who are not, let's get at it. Let's make the world a better place. It's cold in many parts of the country. Bundle up, stay warm. We care about you. Folks, until the next time we have the joy of spending time with you, keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.
Huh. Hey, Floral. I just wanted to let you know I have a New Year's resolution.
Okay.
Although, I don't want to say it. It might be like a wish. If I speak it, I'll break it.
Usually a resolution is spoken out loud so you can be held accountable to it. Like, my resolution is to go to thatpartplace.com and be ready to see its new facelift, and to make sure I'm always subscribed to guys like Jonas and Pro, Culture Casino, Lorena Creole, John Trent, all of them.
Well, I actually got Slade Wilson to also make a resolution.
What's that?
I'd get in too much trouble if I repeated it. He took it way further than I feel comfortable repeating.
Well, that's probably a good call. But, what's yours?
It's not to say anything mean about Jonas.
How do you plan to do that? You're an idiot.